then I can begin. And I will begin by saying about choosing this topic, because it's truly amazing. It's a spiritual thing for me. And I had a brother, a Swedish brother, Jan Peter Östberg, who lives in Skåne. He came to visit here one day, and we shared a lot of things. And among those things, he said that 1 week ago, Bengt, I held a sermon on Zoom in Sweden, and the topic, amazingly, Beatitudes. So I think, we were sort of both laughing then, because I said 1 month ago I did Beatitudes part 1, and now today, this Sunday, I will do part 2. So I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't know how you're thinking, but for me, it's like this is something that Spirit World is pushing. And I think it's very timely, yeah, to do this. Also, I want to say that I'm definitely not an expert on Beatitudes. I've done my best. I watched on YouTube several sermons from Christian pastors, and I tried to prepare. And I encourage you, if you want to go deeply into Beatitudes, please search Google on YouTube, because there's lots and lots of sermons. And like Joseph said, it's the main topic, really, main faith declaration in Christianity. Okay, that was like a sort of introduction. Let's see now if this is working. Change there. Okay, so yeah, that's part 2 of 2. So last month, when I did part 1, I focused on the Beatitudes from a Christian perspective. So today I will make a comparison with the faith declarations that our true parents have made. And that was my goal from the beginning, to sort of put them side by side and see what similarities and what differences there are. So here's from Wikipedia. This is like a sort of just a recap from last sermon 1 month ago. The Beatitudes are considered by the Church to contain the most concise summary of the spiritual life of man. They are an introduction to the teachings of Jesus. And Jesus, was standing on a mount, and we can imagine, why was he standing on a mount? Yes, because there was so many people listening to him. So he had to, have a high position. And there are 9 Beatitudes, and Beatitudes come from Latin, means blessing and blessed, and that is something we also have in Unification Movement. The blessing is very central to our faith. Yeah? So I will just repeat the sort of core things: poor in spirit, those who mourn, the meek, hunger for righteousness, merciful, pure in heart, peacemakers, persecuted, when people insult you. So all those, from this worldly perspective, are very negative things. Why is Jesus bringing up so many negative things as blessings? Well, my conclusion is that because of that, if you have the right attitude, God and Spirit world will compensate, and they will bring happiness to you if you have the right attitude. Yeah, so blessed, Beatitudes is blessed. Yeah, and it says here the great reversal, and what's the meaning of that is that the negative things of this world can become a positive thing in the faith, the life of faith. Also, Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, he said very, very profoundly, be grateful. He confronted people's self-righteousness. They were very arrogant, the scribes, the Pharisees. And he mentioned, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. So this is a sort of amazing statement, because 2,000 years of Christian teaching, I have not heard or read about any Christian saying that I am perfect as Jesus. So it's a goal that is still for Christians. I shouldn't say unachievable, but we know from principle point of view, the blessing, the forgiveness of original sin is the key that opens the door. Perfection. This is something from Jan Peter again, the brother, Swedish brother. He said in his sermon that he put the nine points in the Beatitudes. He put them together in groups of 3, and then he could bring in the divine principle the 3 steps of growth: formation, growth, and completion. I'll share that. Yeah, this was said already. And comparing text from True Father, 1964, he said, "Be eager to save the world, and think, feel, and live in accordance with the divine will. The purpose of the return of Christ is that all one day become like him as Christ." So it's like true parents. They are not only true parents. They are not the only parents, I should say. They are not the only true parents, if you get me right. We are following them, and we are trying to achieve what they have achieved. That is the goal of all unification members. So here we can compare Old Testament. What is the main faith declaration in the Old Testament? Of course, it's the Moses on Mount Sinai when he receives directly from God those 10 commandments that also are included in the Bible. And that is still valid today. If we live according to the 10 commandments, we will not have any problems in this world. No crime, no killing, no stealing, and no fighting. So New Testament, Jesus came and he offered his body, and principal point of view, he had to offer it because he didn't get the foundation, the support that he needed to create the family. And now we can see True Father here. We see at the top, that's the Washington Monument. Many members there, and interesting people in that speech. And we can see that the True Father, he restored the holy body of true parents, and he created a holy family, and he is now blessing mankind. Okay, so here are those speeches here. Okay, so Sermon on the Mount is a faith declaration by Jesus. And similar, all his speeches to Father, he was emphasizing the return of second coming. Okay, so we go now to Moses and the 10 commandments. Here's interesting. There are, let's see, 2, 4, 6. Yeah, there are 3 shells, you shall, and there are 7 shall nots. And I believe this is because fallen humankind are very wicked, so they need more sort of shall nots than shall. Yeah, that's my point. Okay, here's the full text. And we have John's song in our movement. We do good conditions, and then we can receive blessing based on that. But there's also bad conditions you can do, and if you're breaking one of the 10 commandments, it is bad condition, and there will be consequences. So the message really is our life is a reflection of how we make conditions for John's song. And that goes all the way from birth to the grave. Here's core Christianity. You know this, I'm sure. You should love the Lord thy God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is, you shall love thy neighbor as thyself. And this is, you see the arrows there. This is what something True Father speaks a lot about. This has this 90-degree angle. So up we connect with God, and sideways we have our neighbor, our brothers and sisters. And here you can see, if you compare the arrows, you see here's one way. We connect first. We do something good for our neighbor, our wife, or husband, our family, and then we get something back. 2 arrows. So it's a give and take, a give and receive process. I usually listen on Sunday evenings to the Sunday service from California, San Francisco. There's Pastor Kevin Thompson. He's very good, gives very good sermons. I can recommend those. And he mentioned something some week ago. Christianity did not go through weekend workshops. In our movement, we have a lot of 2-day, 7-day, 21-day, 40-day workshops, especially in the 70s and 80s. But he means that it grew through a personal experience of the Holy Spirit. So in Christianity, I talk about baptism of the water and baptism of the Spirit. And those are very important for a Christian and a Christian life. The Spirit is like a fuel that keeps you going on the right path. And then we go to our movement. And what do we have similar to the Beatitudes? Well, our core teachings. We have the 8 holy pledges that we just read, the first one today. And we also have the 4 blessing vows. I think many of us forget those. We gave them at the blessing, and yeah, then we sort of, I'm not saying forgetting, but anyway, they sort of come in the background. We focus more on the holy pledges now. So those are also interested as a faith declaration in the unification movement. So here are the family pledge. I will not go through them. You know them very well, but we can just take the key points. We are seeking the original homeland, and we become central to heaven and earth. We perfect the 4 great realms of heart, 3 great kingdoms, realm royal family, build a universal family, unification of spirit and physical world, perfect the family, here comes family many times, perfect the world based on culture of hearts, and achieve ideal oneness of God and humankind in love. So family is key. Yeah. And the 4 blessing vows that we promised true parents at the blessing. For me and Marit, it was 1982, I remember very well. We were there in Seoul, Korea, and we promised to have absolute faith, absolute love, absolute obedience, realizing a restoration of God's fatherland and a world of peace, and practicing true love. Take responsibility for eternal lives of your children and descendants by establishing the dignity of tribal messiahs. I think number 4 goes very well today when True Mother is encouraged us to witness. That's the main focus. Okay. So now I go into 2 books or booklets that True Father mentioned as the core teaching. You know that he talked about the 8 textbooks, and they came a little bit in the background when we got these 3 latest holy books, Chonsangyong, Shambomyong, Piwagyong, and they are still valid as his last wish that we read them. So I went through them. This is the first one, True Family, Gateway to Heaven. And I have a few quotes. Course of life, the reason for birth. If we are born, raised, live, and die in love, then we can be grateful for our birth, life, and death. You are all born by having participated in a place where your father and mother loved and treasured each other exceedingly. You are participants in this love. We are all meant to live for the sake of love throughout our lives, so you should wave the flag of love for your mother, wave flag of love when you see your father, and wave the flag of love for your siblings. Family is the model of kingdom of heaven. When you stand in the world of peace, you need top and bottom, left and right, and front and back. And this, of course, refers to the family. We have left and right couple, and front and back our children, the siblings love. Top and bottom, that is God and us. Only then is the status of your position stable. Your shape will vary depending on the position in which you stand. Top and bottom, left and right, front and back. Just as there has to be a top and bottom, left and right, and front and back, with the individual at the center, there also have to be parents and children, husband and wife, and brothers and sisters. So family is core in our faith declaration. Earthly life is training to be in rhythm with the spirit world. I have a depth of spiritual experience. The spirit world is a place enveloped in the elements of love. On the earth we breathe air, but in spirit world people live by inhaling love. The love you share in the spirit world is not secular human love, but true love. The love of man and woman in the original creation. When God's beloved woman lives in a man's heart, and God's beloved man lives in a woman's heart as well, these two become his object partners. And when they love each other, God will be delighted to see this love, and all things will rejoice. Heaven and earth will rejoice to see a man and woman with these values embraced. When man and woman embrace each other in mutual fondness, this mutual fondness becomes the point where the universe unifies. This is how the real image unfolds in God's ideal. A true family. Yeah. You can find both those booklets on tparents.org if you want to search for them if you don't have them already. And here's the next book, Owners of Peace, Owners of Lineage. We have left the era before the coming of heaven and have entered the era after the coming of heaven and the era of unity of Cain and Abel. So I understand it so that the era after the coming of heaven was when God was inaugurated, 2001. We passed into a new, we said the time of Chongelguk. Interesting, true Father, he spoke many times about this year one of Chongelguk already, 2001, and so on. But then, of course, he finally said 2013 is the foundation day. People do not recognize when there's a transition from one age to another. It is the same for transitions in the life of an individual and for transitions in the family. For example, there's a time for parents to be focused on raising sons and daughters, and a time for them to be focused on serving their ancestors. There is a time when the grandfather has the role of parents, and a time when he stands as king. There's a time when parents are working things out as husband and wife, and a time when sons and daughters are going through the transition to becoming husband and wives themselves. The question here is the point of separation between good and evil, between good spirits and evil spirits. What does it mean that evil spirits and good spirits came into conflict with each other? It means the gears did not mesh. So the meaning was, like you can see the little graph here at the bottom, that we should go in harmony with the spirit world. But instead, because of the fall of man, those gears, they don't fit each other. So there is an evil, we would say, a reverse direction of one, and the goodness we are seeking is much more difficult because of that. What Satan do center on himself in the presence of God, who is the large gear. Heaven turns in a certain way, and Satan says, I have to turn in the same direction, but he can't, and so he takes it over and tries to force it to turn backwards. This is the issue of lineage centered on love. So by having a pure lineage, we can more easily connect to the spirit world, and we can then work and spread love around us. When the lineage gets on board with Satan's program and turns like that, what happens on earth from then on? Existing beings on earth cannot form the lower wheel. Hence, they do not live. The universe cannot breathe. So life elements is like love. Breathe in with me, he says, and takes a deep breath. And this picture you have seen many times. When the sun rises, the bud of each tree faces the sun. What is it in the sunlight to which the buds respond? It's life elements. For us human beings, love is our life element. God is the son of love. You have to engraft to the ideal of love and harmonize with it in order to develop your love and life and to cultivate your character in harmony with the eternal world. It's important to understand the principle of heaven, earth, and humanity. This concept does not exist in either the West or East. Why? Because the fall was committed and everything came into conflict. After you breathe out like this, ooh, you should breathe in again. But if you and your partner are fighting and saying, you should die and disappear, what will happen? If one person disappears, there's no one remaining who can breathe in. So we breathe together with our partner. That's interesting. It's because living things, let them in that air, water, sunlight can be the basic elements of life. If even one of them is missing, if water is missing, for example, life ceases to exist. If sunlight is missing, life ceases to exist. Are you confident that you will not cease to exist? So we don't think so much about this, but actually from God, we have this life-sustaining air, water, food, sunlight. How amazing are the words, one family under God. In one family under God, we see God's lifeline, God's airline, and God's sunlight. The roots of God, the Alpha and Omega, are deeply embedded there. Only when we analyze in this way can we say, wow. We then will come alive to find our ideal partner of love. There cannot be a unified family unless we each establish an ideal partner for whom we would not mind to cease to exist. Absolutely. There will only be one gate, the gate to the royal palace of peace. The ideal unified world has come, the fatherland and hometown of God and true parents. So you are born internally inheriting their flesh and blood, their skin, and even their hair. That's why you can't help but become a heavenly nation. The system will disappear. All things will come to an end. If you want to live in the end, if you want to live in the end, hold on to me. It's that simple. Yeah. I think what we see in the world today, this is just my reflection, final reflection, the wars and the turmoil, and also this uh, climate change. We had a very bad storm. I think all of you heard about this storm Hans, and it was really, yeah, I could say it's really terrifying. I was almost afraid to go out of the door here, yeah, on the west coast of Sweden, because it was so strong. I could almost not open the door, and I was afraid some branches from the tree would fall on my head. Yeah. So it was scary, really. And I think this goes well with the text here, that the world is in a change, a rapid change. And we can see in America the polarity, the division in the politics, and there's a lot of conflict in the world that need to be solved. So we have a reason. We know that heaven is working, true parents are working, spirit side and physical side, and this affects the world and the future world. Yeah. So here finally I made a sort of comparison. The Old Testament, you can see the circle. It's like from the fall of man, we have a dark world. The world died, you could say, it became dark. But there was some stars, the prophets, that came in the Old Testament. And then Jesus, he opened the paradise. But still, you can see behind there, there's this fallen world. So this fallen world belongs to Satan, or did belong to Satan, I should say, and the evil spirit. And now we have Chongelgok, and the world is gradually disappearing. The evil world is gradually disappearing. Finally, Anjin Moon, she's a very good artist. I like her very much. It's her painting of True Mother and True Parents. You can find her on Facebook and all her paintings. Okay, here's the 8 textbooks. I will just quickly, show them and then go to the next. Yeah, the 3 holy books. So for me, it's like they're all holy. You know, I appreciate True Father, of course, everything he did, and I take his talking seriously. So when he says you should read the 8 textbooks, I will also do that, and the new holy books I will also read in our morning devotions. Yeah. So here finally I share some history testimony. This is from Stockholm, when True Father made a holy ground there. You might have seen this before. And behind is a statue of Linné, famous botanical man in Sweden. I think the world also. He organized all the flowers and plants in a systematic order. So it's nice that the True Father is standing in front of that. He's organizing the spirit world and the physical world in a similar way. Also from Stockholm, you see the old cars there, Saab, Volkswagen. That's 1965. It's outside the Royal Palace. Yeah, it's some tourist view. Okay, final slide. Thank you, and please join me in prayer. Dearest Heavenly Parent, I thank you for having me sharing these Beatitudes. I am not really qualified, but I did my best, and I hope brothers and sisters appreciate it. Those thoughts on the foundation of Christian faith, the core teachings, and we connect them now with the core teachings of True Parents. And we can see that they are in many ways similar. Love God with all your heart, and love your neighbor, love your family. And this is what is added in our unification movement, is the family level. So Jesus came on the individual level, and he made a foundation for 2,000 years. And now we are on the family level, and we are substantially creating the kingdom of heaven here on earth. So please, let all wars stop, let all conflicts inside us, mind and body, and all the conflicts in family, all the conflicts between different groups, especially in Sweden. Now we have this burning of the Quran, which is very, very upsetting and very bad. And I hope there will be a solution and an end to that, so we can have peace, faith peace, that is really needed on this earth today. So all this I pray now in our precious names as brothers and sisters and blessed central families. Chew.